It is time to advance past week 3 of free agency. We've already went through and we checked out player pro days, compared it up against combine results, looking at some of the players that we've specifically been targeting here, Caden Proctor being the biggest one, but looking at a couple of receivers, a couple of quarterbacks, some other team needs, so on and so forth. We already looked at some of the transactions that have been made, like free agency signings and some of the trades. I'm sure there'll be even bigger results or transactions being made after this week. And just as I speak on it, we have view free agency recap, but we've got a message from Kevin Zeitler. I can't wait for September. I love these fans. They've already embraced me. So he signed with the Cardinals. We got Brian Robinson Jr. has signed with the Jets. And then you have Joe Milton. We spoke on that already, being traded, a massive trade from the Giants, who ended up developing him into a top tier elite QB and then traded him away. So I guess he's going on the journey to try to build up yet another QB. And we have Mark Andrews, who is a new arrival in Los Angeles, playing for the Chargers this week. Let's look at transactions and see who else got signed. So we have the Panthers signed Darren Waller. Then we have Seth McLaughlin signed into the 49ers. I'm trying to see if there are any other bigger free agent signings. Nothing too crazy. We have CJ Drip has signed to the Dolphins. Okay, here we have Malik Hooker. Why did I say Hooker? Malik Willis has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joshua Williams signed with Washington. Any other bigger name free agents here? Okay, so Tylan Wallace, he's not a big name, but he signed with the Jets. Falcons has signed Adam Troutman. Nothing too crazy. I think all the bigger fish were already signed earlier on in free agency. We got Benjamin St. Juste has signed with the Panthers. Brandon Smith signed with the Bucks. So yeah, I'm not seeing any massive big time free agent signings this week. Like we already mentioned, a lot of the bigger names have came off the board already. Lions signed free agent Evan Neal to a 3-year, $21.6 million contract. So that's actually a huge deal right there, because we know the Lions is going to utilize Evan Neal and actually develop him into a really good offensive lineman. He's an up-and-coming offensive lineman, but he's going to develop him into an even better offensive lineman. Matt Milano ended up signing with the Raiders, and is Trey Lance signed for 4 years, $10 million with the Giants. So is he going to be the next big name QB that the Giants end up developing into somebody in this franchise? Only time will tell. Again, nothing too major. We have a couple big victories for user opponents. We have a couple big victories for user opponents, some notable names that have signed with users that we know these users are going to end up taking to the next level and turning into big time players. Keenan Allen has signed with the Jets. That's an interesting move. And here we have a trade for the Lions. Falcons trade round 6. I think we already went over that in the last video, I believe. I think this might have been a part of that trade to acquire Pitts. I believe, didn't he acquire Pitts? Or no, this is just him acquiring draft picks. The Giants have traded Milton to the Titans for a first, a second, actually 2 firsts and a second. So good compensation for the Giants right there. A lot of interesting moves here in this offseason after we advanced past free agency. Again, we are officially in the free agency recap phase. So the next thing from here is the draft. So you will see a lot of wheeling and dealing, and you will see a lot of transactions being made that weren't made earlier on in free agency or earlier on in the offseason, just due to the fact that now it's crunch time. The draft is right around the corner. People are trying to acquire draft picks, rightfully so, because they know my draft classes are stacked. And the talent goes deeper than deep. Next up, we have private workouts. Now we have to schedule our private workouts. And again, here, not only will we schedule private workouts, again, we may review some players and look at their pro day and combine numbers again, compare them again, and we may take a peek at other players that we haven't gotten a chance to look at. So I'm going to schedule my private workouts, but I'm not going to make myself obvious either. So there's certain targets, there's certain individuals that I know that I really want. And I'm not about to make myself obvious that I really want these individuals by scheduling private workouts. Because once you schedule private workouts, you're going to make it known, because then the media is going to start talking on here. It's going to start highlighting, hey, such and such team is looking at certain players or is looking at said player. And I don't want to tip my hat. So if anything, I'll schedule private workouts with players that I know I'm not really targeting. Just so if it comes up and it says I'm looking at these guys, it's really just a smoke screen. I'm not necessarily really looking at those guys. Looking at the free agency recap, we got Jalen Thompson to the 49ers, Brian Robinson Jr. to the Jets, Najee Harris to the Bengals, Kendall Fuller to the Rams, Awuzie to the Cardinals, Von Miller, Rasheed Walker to the Jets, Romeo Doubs to the Rams, Matt Milano to the Raiders, Justin Simmons to the Raiders. The Raiders been making a lot of moves in free agency. I'm not even going to lie. Dameon Pierce went to the Commanders. Ivan Pace Jr. went to the Falcons. Caden Ellis to the Rams. Rasul Douglas. Wyatt Teller to the Eagles. A lot of interesting pickups. Will Lutz to the Giants. Keenan Allen, we just spoke about that, to the Jets. Jabril Peppers to the Jets. So the Jets, another team like the Raiders that have been making a lot of moves here in this free agency. Zion Johnson to the Saints. We spoke about that earlier on a couple episodes ago in free agency, how the Saints being one of those users making a lot of big time moves. So Noah Fant to the Commanders. Surprised that a user didn't pick. Oh, wow. Nakobe Dean to the Lions. That's an interesting pickup right there. Marcus Davenport to the Commanders. Connor McGovern, another massive pickup for the Raiders. Again, like I said, the Raiders have been hustling and muscling here in this free agency period. Calvin Austin to the Cardinals, another user. So the Cardinals is actually out here making a lot of moves as well. It's being underrated. Look, Kyer Elam's another one. Again, somebody who was a bust in real life, but has a lot of potential in the game. Tutu Atwell to the Falcons. Ray McLeod to the Jets. Michael McFadden, I'm surprised, ended up going to CPU instead of a user. Melifonwu to the Commanders. So again, as we're going through and we're scrolling through all of these free agents, we're seeing a lot of notable pickups or not a lot of notable pickups, but a lot of interesting pickups by both user and computer controlled teams here as well. So we still got a lot of names that we're toggling through. Joshua Williams to the Commanders, but nobody here. Matthew Judon to the Chargers. I was just about to say nobody here is like super notable, but Matthew Judon is a notable name. Jelani Tavai to the Bucks. Channing Tindall, we spoke about that one, how we're surprised that he even went to a computer opponent. We thought he would have went to CPU. The Lions picked up Harris. That was a good pickup. What we thought was going to happen with Channing Tindall is what happened with Harris. Taking a look at the mock draft. So the final mock draft has been unveiled, mock draft 5, and they have Eli Stowers projected to go 1 to the Chiefs. Jeremiah Love projected to go 2 to the Seahawks. Mateo Uyunglele projected to go 3rd to the Cowboys. Ruben Bain 4th to the Chargers. Peter Woods 5th to the Chiefs. And they say Jordan Tyson 6th to us, the Jags. But we know who we really want, and that's Caden Proctor. So if it falls as it currently falls, Caden Proctor should make it to us. Only time will tell. But as you can see, a lot of moving and shaking going on with this mock draft. As always, as it typically does when these mock drafts get dropped and they are unveiled, you have a lot of players moving up and down the board, specifically closer towards the end of the year as combine numbers are in, pro day numbers are in, so on and so forth. So we got a lot of interesting projections going on here. So a lot of things to take away from this week and a lot of things to take away from this episode as far as transactions are concerned, free agency acquisitions, trades, picks being moved around, players moving up and down draft boards, so on and so forth. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like I mentioned a minute ago, the next episode is going to be draft day. So that's going to be where all the fun actually starts. But as for now, if you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with more of this Jags rebuild as well as other Madden content. Again, I appreciate you all for tuning in. That's been my time. Till next time.